So our session was on building resilience by improving health, nutrition, and knowledge. And we started off by acknowledging that nutrition has been at the center of a lot of discussions here, both as an area that is particularly sensitive to shocks and therefore vulnerable in a resilience context, but also an area where a major contribution to resilience will be made by improved nutrition at the individual, community, and national economies, particularly when we focus on this nutrition on women and infants. So in our session, we focused particularly on the question of how we make the agriculture and food systems that deliver nutrition more resilient to shocks. And we generated a lot of ideas, different kinds of interventions and policies that'll be part of the write-up. We talked about education, market incentives, post-harvest opportunities, indigenous crops, biofortification. But what I think emerged most strongly from our discussion was not this rich portfolio of action, but the need for a fundamental challenge of how we approach our agricultural contribution to nutrition and resilience. And there were 2 points that came out of that, so I've just got 2. The first is integration for resilience. Resilience in nutrition through agriculture will be based on a flexible diversity of sources of accessible and affordable nutritious foods. And while science has compelled us to work on solutions in silos around commodities or specific nutrients, the real solution is an integrated one, which is going to challenge our conventional approach. And that integrative multi-sector approach is a common feature of work on nutrition and resilience. So there's much complementarity to build on there, but the real challenge will be creating that collaboration between those research communities, and by convincing the people who fund it to fund those complex kinds of problems, and then most importantly, by finding a way to translate that outcome to policymakers who want a simple solution. What's the one thing I can do, as we've heard before? And we came up with some ideas for that. The second was about building resilience for the consumer back to the farmer. To address nutrition and resilience, we can, possibly must, reverse our perspectives and focus not on what we can grow here and who we can feed with it, but on what foods and nutrition does this population need and how do we generate that? To go from push, which is our agricultural perspective, to pull. And in doing so, we recognize the incredible importance of markets. We learned how poor mothers in rural communities source their complementary foods for their infant children from markets which don't have those foods. How even homestead agriculture interacts strongly with local markets and needs those to thrive. And what we do about neglected urban communities from our agriculture perspective is still a big question. And this is where the challenge of knowledge comes in, and consumer education as well, awareness of foods and their nutritional value. And we came up with some ideas for that too.